The ABURI meeting started on January 4, 1967 and lasted for 2 days. Those who attended the meeting included the head of state, Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon, and the military governors of the 4 regions, Hassan Usman Katsina of the northern region, Robert Adeyinka Adebayo, David Akpode Ejo, and Chukwuemeka Ojukwu of the west, midwest, and eastern region, respectively. Others included the military administrator of Lagos, Mobolaji Johnson, the head of the Nigerian Navy, Commodore Joseph Edet Akinwale Wei, and the Inspector General of Police, Alhaji Kam Selem, among others. ABURI was significant for several reasons. First, that the leaders met at all was an achievement in itself. But even more tangible was the fact that the leaders agreed that force would not be used to settle the brothers' palaver. There was also the question of the disposition of Nigerian troops and the reorganization of the army after the second coup on July 29, 1966, and the subsequent killings that followed in September. Further, Ojukwu said that his region was perturbed that, contrary to Gowon's promise on August 9, 1966, which all soldiers would return to the region of origin, northern troops still occupied the western region. Gowon replied that his promise of August 9 applied to the repatriation of soldiers of northern origin stationed in the east back to the north, and those of eastern origin stationed in the north back to the east. He had fulfilled his promise, he said. He then emphasized that soldiers of northern origin would remain in the west since there were only a few Yoruba in the Nigerian army. Ojukwu was not satisfied and further insisted on a reorganization of the army on a regional basis. Gowon was also firmly opposed to splitting up the army. Ojukwu claimed that Nigeria did not have a central government since the country, as a result of the second coup and its aftermath, resolved itself into 3 separate sovereign areas: the Lagos West North area, the Midwest area, and the East area. But Gowon insisted that Nigeria was still one nation, an entity composed of 4 regions and the central government in Lagos. Ojukwu then proposed that the situation in the nation necessitated a drawing apart of the regions because the separation of forces, the separation of the population, is, in all sincerity, necessary in order to avoid further friction and further killings. The other leaders, who all wanted one Nigeria, agreed to Ojukwu's proposal, but apparently without understanding the implication. This was the bombshell of ABURI. By agreeing to Ojukwu's argument that the regions should first pull apart in order to stay together, the other leaders in effect sanctioned Biafra's secession, hence the end of Nigeria as a single nation. They attended and left the ABURI meeting with the firm belief that Nigeria should and would continue as one nation. But they had gone to that meeting, as it seems, without adequate preparations in terms of a crew of legal and political advisors, which such a meeting demanded. They had gone to ABURI in a spirit of comradeship. Ojukwu, on the other hand, meant business. He arrived in ABURI with a strong team of legal, political, economic advisors, secretaries, and realms of paper. Not only did the other leaders agree with Ojukwu that the regions and peoples of the nation first draw apart, but they also agreed to Ojukwu's suggestion that there should be no supreme commander of the army, hence no head of government or head of state. What Ojukwu wanted was that whosoever was at the top should be a titular head, who would only act when all of them have met and taken a unanimous decision. Since the unanimous decision of all the regions was required before he could act in all matters which affected any of the regions or any of the nation as a whole, the commander-in-chief and head of a government was so only in name. He would still be a titular head. The point of the agreement at ABURI was that each region would be responsible for its own affairs, and that the federal military government would be responsible for matters that affected the entire country. A simple enough concept. Afterwards, the officers toasted their reconciliation and agreement with champagne. The federal delegation's jubilation was such that on his plane flight home, Ojukwu asked one of his secretaries whether the federal delegation had fully understood the implications of what had been agreed. However, no one at ABURI, other than Ojukwu, really understood the constitutional implications of what had been agreed. Ojukwu was obviously delighted with this, hence why he was in such a hurry to implement the decisions that were taken, and why Gowon had to break his promise. Federal permanent secretaries who headed the various ministries of the government as of then, as well as political and legal experts in the country, were appalled at the content of the ABURI agreement when their leaders returned home. The permanent secretaries met on January 20, 1967 to evaluate the agreement, and they rightly argued that the title of Commander-in-Chief was a subtle way of either abolishing the post of the Supreme Commander or declaring it vacant, now that its previous occupant, Major General Aguiyi-Ironsi, was dead. They further reported that the proposal that all appointments to top posts in the military, civil service, and the diplomatic corps be unanimously approved by the Supreme Military Council would tend to paralyze the functions of the Federal Public Service Commission. They also noted that the allegiance and loyalty of the regionally appointed officers of the federal government would be to regions, meaning in effect that there would be no federal public service. The summary of their report was that the ABURI agreement summed up to a confederation. The leaders themselves were shocked. Then, from February 16 through February 18, 1967, Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon summoned a meeting of the secretaries to the military government and other officials, which was held in Benin City, over a memo one of the permanent secretaries had written concerning the ABURI agreements. The memo traced the long hard road that Nigeria had traveled and stressed the need to keep a united nation. The permanent secretary who wrote this memo was Prince Solomon Akenzua, who later, as Eredioa I, became the 39th Oba of Benin on March 23, 1979. However, Prince Akenzua was an outstanding civil servant. In fact, he rose to become the Federal Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, before he retired in 1973. Akenzua, in the memo, said that Gowon had given too much away in ABURI and that it would lead to the destruction of the country. He also said that Gowon had legalized total regionalism, which would make the center very weak. Prince Akenzua further alluded in his memo that a weak center would lead to a confederation and the total disintegration of Nigeria. The shocking revelation of the meeting of the ABURI agreement overshadowed some of the important decisions the leaders agreed to at ABURI in their search for peace and for a new basis of a stable federal union, or at least a national unity. ABURI on the whole was a big success, but the interpretation of what transpired at the meeting devalued the success. Ironically, to implementing the decisions agreed on at ABURI was necessary. Ojukwu then set March 31, 1967 as the deadline for a unilateral implementation of the ABURI agreement. Gowon, on the other hand, broke his promise and restated that the constitutional changes the East proposed would not work because such changes would result in the end of Nigeria as a single nation. As Prince Akenzua had written in his memo, Gowon had given too much away in ABURI that would have led to the destruction of the country. He legalized total regionalism, which would make the center very weak, and the weak center would eventually lead to a confederation and total disintegration of Nigeria.
Echo FM. All right, good morning and welcome to Straight Talk Live on Echo FM. Wonderful, wonderful. For those of us who are yet to understand, today on ABURI we stand. That is the discussion. That is what we are going. We're going back to history. We're going back to that very make or mar decision that has put Nigeria in the state we are today. The confusion, everything that has gone on started and ended with that ABURI Accord that was not held, and at the end of the day, disintegrated into a war, very brutal war that has shaped Nigeria on the wrong path till today. Yeah. Welcome about everybody. It is Straight Talk Live on Echo FM 100.7. No bending corners. And today, we are discussing something very, very sensitive. For those of you who are not very aware of what we are discussing, please just listen. Yeah. It is not every time you want to call and talk. Yeah. This is not about discussing Biafra or no Biafra, Nigeria or no Nigeria. We want to understand. We want to dissect what was the problem. Because Gowon, just a few days ago, brought out a memo accusing Chukwuemeka Odimegwu Ojukwu as being the reason for the civil war, that he thwarted every effort to avoid a civil war in his latest book. So with this, we want to go back to that ABURI Accord, what it was, and what you just listened to is a documentary that captured almost every detail of what happened before, during the ABURI Accord, and after the ABURI Accord. And then came Decree number 8 by the then Supreme Council led by Gowon, which stripped a whole lot of powers away from the region and put it on the central. And all those powers today is what has been vested on the president. Yeah. And this is where Nigeria has gotten to today, when the president has too much powers. But yet again, we'll take a look at this. Was Ojukwu sincere in trying to have one Nigeria in his approach? Or he was just taking one step closer to the disintegration? Another big question asked is, why is it that there was no, Ojukwu was saying that there's no central government since the head of state was killed? He didn't say that when the head of state, the prime minister, was killed when Tafawa Balewa was killed. It was when Aguirre was killed, and that coup is predominantly regarded as the Igbo coup or the Eastern coup, and the soldiers from the East carried out that coup. And then the pogrom came, and they killed a whole lot of Northerners after the counter coup. And then you say, hell no, there is no military leader, there's no central, that Nigeria has divided into 3 major parts. Who divided it? Nobody knows. Only Ojukwu came up with that concept, and then he went to ABURI with that mindset that Nigeria has already disintegrated and they need to remain that way. The central should hold only when the regions have decided. That means there is no authority at the head. It's only at the region. Is that not a recipe for disintegration? Because there's never going to be a time where all those 3 leaders will agree, so long as Nigeria as a den was concerned, because this was ethnic issues, and ethnic issues are always never settled with dialogue. So this is exactly what led to the ABURI Accord, and Ojukwu came there and very prepared. He went with lawyers, he went with advisors, he went with everything. Gowon went there in the spirit of comradeship and then decided to agree just to pacify Ojukwu, who was now the person demanding for regional government to first go away and then come back. How? How is that possible? How is that workable? These are issues that we needed to really, really discuss this morning. So please, I am calling on everybody. This is not a matter of Biafra, even though Biafra is at the center of the whole of it. This is not about Nigeria. This is understanding what really happened. Was Gowon right, or is he wrong to accuse Ojukwu to be the person that thwarted all avenues to make sure they didn't go to war? Or it was Gowon who renegated on what he perceived to be an unfair agreement at ABURI? And why wasn't Ojukwu willing to further discuss what was discussed in ABURI, only standing on ABURI when he says, on ABURI we stand. This is what we are going to be dealing with today on the show. So everybody, be free to be part of the conversation. We invited 3 wonderful man guest, but only one so far has shown up. We invited the elder statesman, Comrade Efayagba. Yesterday he was saying he may or may not come. I've not seen him yet. Maybe he will be here, maybe he will not, or maybe he will join us from the comfort of his home. I believe he's listening to us. And of course, we also invited live one of the caller who seemed to know a lot about that. My spirit say invite him. He said he will be here, but I have not seen him yet. But so far, we have the one and only, the Ignimia, what did you say? Enigmia of law and order, the one and only Elder Honorable Ngozika Ihioma. Good morning and welcome to Echo FM. This is your first time in our studios, I guess.
Yeah. Good morning. Dawn first, because they say ladies first.
Now, me talk to you, and I don't need the greet first. I think see why.
Calm down.
We must observe decorum and protocol.
No,
Thank you, sir.
So,
okay.
And this is the first time I'm seeing Dawn.
Okay.
So I need to appreciate her, be hearing her voice and
Thank
all the
you
good things
so
going
much.
on.
Yeah.
Then, Barry Cosmos is an old friend from Heritage FM to Echo FM.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
Okay.
We've come a long way. And, well, we are here on Echo. And if it's not Echo,
It's nothing.
it's not loud.
It's not loud.
It's not loud at all.
Doesn't roll.
All right. Okay. Welcome aboard, Honorable Ngozika Ihioma. Honorable Ihioma is one-time, I think, local government chairman, of Zenith MBC, and of course, a lawmaker. And he has constitution all over his head. Where is that your ACPA document? He always move around with document, constitution, and all that. So we have to deal with issues like this. Well, you had that documentary. Today, I don't want to dwell on the newspaper because this is a very bogus conversation. You had the documentary. Is any part of that documentary we just played and aired out there not real, or is fictitious, to the best of your knowledge?
Let me start by saying that the conversation ably sparked by a former head of state, General Gowon, Yakubu Gowon. He interpreted his name, Gowon, go on with one Nigeria. That was 1970.
Yeah.
Go on with one Nigeria. That's Gowon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, since Tuesday, when his biography came out, he titled it, My Life of Duty and Allegiance. There has been many calls from many interest groups. I've spoken with Comrade Efayagba this morning.
Okay.
He will be joining us via phone. He's not too healthy to climb this two-story building. So he has obliged to join by phone.
Okay.
And let me start by saying that the critique, like you said, is not about Biafra or Nigeria. I will start this discourse by looking at the hidden factors, what that documentary did not talk about, and I ably have on Saturday, Telegraph, 16th of May, one of those who were there, just as a younger civil servant, who is now an Oba in the Southwest, who happens to be a former minister of finance under Babangida, and a one-time presidential candidate in 1999 against Obas, holding the APP and AD joint ticket, which Ubeniano has always said he made a sacrifice to.
Okay.
So, Chief, who is now Oba, His Royal Majesty, Oba Olufalaye, is known to Nigerians.
Of course.
It's not a pushover. I would look at him as a bridge between those who are trying to deceive us and those who are trying to tell us the truth. In his intervention, maybe he knew there was going to be a paper publication or an autograph of Gowon. On 16th, he said, Nigeria has not been on course since independence. Mark the word, since independence.
Okay.
And what he said, he said that at the very beginning, after independence, we have never really been on course. He said we gained independence in 1960, and barely 2 years, mark my word now, Barely 2 years later, crisis erupted in the southwest. Crisis erupted in the southwest, leading to a state of emergency declared by the federal government. Since then, instability has continued to trail the country. Let me stop here. Okay? If you look at this is a very fresh graduate who was in the civil service, who rose, is an economist, who rose from the ranks and has held office of the Minister of Finance, Secretary to Government of the Federation, presidential candidate. So nobody is ably qualified to tell the story of 1960 that he has done. One of the things that Gowon did not do well, like I've said, is releasing this particular memo now. So many people have asked him to respond why Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu was alive. Ojukwu wrote, because I'm involved. And Ojukwu has insisted that he never got involved in any coup, in any attempt to destabilize Nigeria. That's why, even when he went on exile, as soon as he was granted amnesty by Shehu Shagari, he returned back immediately. And he fully moved in, joined the National Party, NPN, and participated in an election, even though he lost in 1983. He ran for Senate. Okay? And from that day, Ojukwu remained running elections. In 2003, he ran for presidency in the second term of Obasanjo. Okay? So I expected that Gowon, who had equally ran for Senate in 1992, he lost in Zaria. That's the first time we knew he had an affiliation in Zaria. We have all grown up believing he's from Plateau State. But when the option A4 of Humphrey Nwosu came up, he went to run for election in Zaria and lost Professor Ngablai. Okay? So they have been mad enough. People have talked about useful exuberance. Okay? But from my own experience, I won't say that a man who assumed duty at the age of 32 as head of state is still there's any useful exuberance. No. I came to office in 1996 at the age of 30. Okay? And I know. So I try to weigh when people talk about some certain things. So at 32, Ojukwu was 33. They were not kids. Okay? They were fully exposed. Ojukwu already had a master's degree from the best university in the world, Oxford University. He had a first degree in history, second degree in history before he joined the army. Okay? Two of them were commissioned. One, Gowon, 2 years earlier than Ojukwu, but they became lieutenant colonel. They commissioned the same year in 1963 together.
And I mean, whether a one-day difference is near you.
Yeah, because Gowon was enlisted, commissioned
before Ojukwu. That's the fact.
Number 20, Ojukwu is N29. Okay, by enlistment is a senior, but they caught themselves off just because of Ojukwu's own academic background.
All right. Well, good first take on this whole matter. Gowon has stirred a honest nest, and we are going to discuss that in detail. But before we do that, there's something that came up yesterday that is worth mentioning. Yesterday, you remember, everybody recall that the INEC came up with a new guideline that limited primary time frame and submission of party registers and all that, which has made every political party running tika, helter-skelter. But Nigerian court, a high court in Abuja, yesterday has nullified that particular order by INEC, that INEC has no such power to do any of that. Now, they have given political parties from now till September to submit their membership register to INEC, and primaries can stay from now till September before it is a 21-day difference between the election time and when they will submit all their register. That is what the court has come up to do. And again, there is a 90 days window for primaries to be done. So in this whole thing, and they've also given the parties the right to substitute candidates. If they feel this person is not doing well or is not getting the crowd, they can substitute the candidate for another one. And that is what. The court held that INEC regulation does not supersede the Nigerian Constitution and Electoral Act provided by the law. That you are not above the law, you have to work within the law. And that has weakened INEC. Well, there has been this issue that the APC, the ruling party, did this to trap other parties and also trap members in case after their primary, people who want to decamp to other parties cannot go because they are now shackled by this new INEC regulation. And this has backfired. So the likes of ADC, the NDC, the APP can now register more people and then submit the register in September. What does that tell us? What does that give us? The likes of Fubara, who have been skimmed out of APC, they now have a chance to go and join another party. The likes of Desmond Elliott, they have a chance now to join another party and still contest for those seats they were skimmed out and they refused their voters to vote during the primaries of the APC. This is a landmark ruling by the Federal High Court. But the problem now, will INEC go on appeal? Should INEC appeal something like this? That is the major question I want to ask this morning. Well, ahead of the 2027 general election, political parties have received relief after the Federal High Court in Abuja invalidated the timeline that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, issued for the conduct of primaries and nomination of candidates. That is the latest twist, or the plot twist, like Adam would say, to the Nigerian political scene. What do you make of this new one? Good or bad? Honorable.
Let me start by saying that just like the ABURI Accord that was messed up by what is called super palm sex, the likes of Philip Asodu, the likes of Ayeda, and so many of them. Okay? Now, look, you can see that it's unfortunate. Let me repeat. It's unfortunate that one arm of government, the judiciary, has always been playing some nasty roles. Forget my choice of word, because I think I'm pained when people who brand themselves, because I've not seen where it is written that lawyers are learned people. Because every other profession goes through it. Medical doctors spend more time in the school, in the university, than lawyers do. Okay? But they acclaim to themselves, attribute to themselves that they are learned people. All of us are illiterates. And we killed into them that whatever they say, we try to say. Now, you cannot be a lawyer if you have not gone to law school. You can read law as a first degree, but if you didn't go to law school, which is a specialized training for them, you cannot be, if you are not called to bar. Okay? But today, I think there's many bars. There's the bar in Orient is in my place. There's a bar in Gumabri, very close to my own house. There's a bar in Cornwall. Okay? Because I think that's the bar that is functional. Not that the one that used to be in Victoria Land that have been kept in 6 places. Their headquarters now in Abuja. There's one in Enugu. There's one in Bayelsa. Okay? We are now having so many bars. I think that's where that we now have to listen and question that learned silk that they claim to have. Since this Fourth Republic, the first time a lawyer, a senior advocate, a professor of law, an academic, assumes responsibility, we have never had peace in INEC. The first time, INEC goes to the parliament to sit down with people to now cook up a story, because it's a story. I'm a parliamentarian. When that act came up, if you recall, Barry, according to your program, and I told you that a party should please run to court immediately, because I haven't looked at the Constitution. I've seen a lot of lapses that it will be done, and I'm happy I was proven right yesterday. Okay? So, what are the constitutional provision, the role of INEC? Let me just read here what the Constitution said about INEC.
Thank you.
That the Commission shall have power to A, organize. Watch the word now. Organize, undertake, and supervise all elections to the offices of the President, Vice President, Governor, Deputy Governor of a state, and members of the Senate, House of Representatives, and House of Assembly of each state of the Federation. Did you hear INEC conduct election to area council? Did you hear them conduct election to local government? But they have conducted one last February. Under this professor and academic, a senior advocate, I personally, as a consultant of Argon, wrote to him, please, There is a Supreme Court.
Which of the area councils are you talking about? Abuja area
Yes,
council?
this is area council.
But the area councils are more like
No, hold on. No, they are not.
Okay.
They're not. They're not, please.
Okay.
Okay? The constitution says that they are not part of Section 3 sub 6. Okay? They are the Supreme Court had in the case of AG.
So who should conduct that?
There's no election. There's no election.
It's appointment?
Yes, it's just like the minister is appointed in FCT.
Okay.
The minister is supposed to appoint executive secretaries to run the area councils. I was a consultant to the Senate Committee on State and Local Government in 2009. And that was my position paper, and it was adopted. And that's because it's an offshoot of a Supreme Court judgment in the case of AG Federation versus AG Abia State and 35 others, 2002. It's a landmark. So, now, what again? Register political parties in accordance with the positions of this Constitution and an Act of National Assembly. Monitor the organization and operation of the political parties, including their finances, conventions, congresses, and party primaries. Arrange for annual examination and auditing of the funds and accounts of political parties, and publish a report on such examination and audit. E. Arrange and conduct the registration of persons qualified to vote, and prepare, maintain, and revise the register of voters for the purpose of any election under this Constitution. F. Monitor political campaigns and provide rules and regulations which shall govern the political parties. G. Ensure that all electoral commissioners, electoral and returning officers take and subscribe the oath of office prescribed by law. H. Delegate any of his powers to any resident electoral commissioners, and I, finally, carry out such other functions as may be conferred upon it by an Act of National Assembly. Now, if you look at...
But they have power to set guidelines for the election, don't they?
His guidelines are going to supersede constitutional provisions.
No,
okay?
it shouldn't.
If you will have allowed me again, I would have gone to Section 221 to read about political parties, because these are the two people in question.
I understand.
Yes.
We want to get to the root of that, because the court has already ruled that INEC guidelines or whatever laws they put cannot supersede that of the Nigerian Constitution.
Yes.
Thanks to YPP party, the Young People's Party, that went to court even when the PDPs and the ADCs and the rest of the bigger parties refused to go. The YPP was the one that went to court and got this judgment. Kudos to them. And of course, INEC now, will they appeal, or will they just, okay, we work within the ambit of the law, or are they going to go fighting and cause another political quagmire within the political space?
I will not be surprised. Like I've said, that's why I said, under the lawyer, under the senior advocate, under the professor, the academic, who is now superintendent, who now has taken over the job of the Supreme Court, okay? Because the Supreme Court now appeals to INEC chairman for interpretation. Okay? It's an aberration.
It's an aberration.
Okay? It's an aberration.
Well, you're referring to the interpretation of antebellum issue?
Antebellum
has become removal of party.
Yes. The reserve of a party. Okay?
All right.
So what we're saying is that I expect that the court has humbled INEC chairman yesterday.
Yes.
Okay? If he likes, let him appeal. First of all, you are appealing a judgment that is not in your favor. You are bound to obey the judgment of
until a new court of appeal.
And when the non-lawyers were at the head of INEC, they respected the judiciary. Okay? Maybe because they have not known that the judges were lawyers before.
Okay, you are a member of APC.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer. I'm a member of APC.
I'm not a lawyer, but you're a member of APC.
Yes.
Do you think the APC orchestrated this issue of May 10th submission of the party register and all that in order to trap people who are already in APC? And after their primaries, since they already fixed their primaries, I think the governorship is the last one now left. They have done Senate, they have done State House and Federal House of Rep. So the governorship, those who be disgruntled by the action or the outcome of the primaries, not to leave the APC, because people have been predicting implosion since you have gathered everybody into the APC. Do you think this was meant to protect the APC like the opposition is now saying now?
Barry and the Dawn, let me shock you. Whatever you see APC do today, They did not originate it.
What do you mean?
PDP, as a party registered by the military wing, okay? That's a military wing in the political sector, okay? Registered in 1998 by Absalami Abubakar, okay? Had two other parties, APP and AD, as subordinate lieutenants, okay? The very minute PDP took over power on 29th May 1999, it's unfortunate that the then head of state, who became the president, Obasanjo, had a hidden agenda, separate from what Babangida and those who gave him power had given him power for. Okay? He had what is called a lifelong ambition.
That's a conspiracy theory.
No,
you know
please,
that.
please. When I talk, I speak with authority. Okay. Because I have been opportune to be part of a chieftain of a party, okay, for a long time, okay, for over 20 years, 4 years, okay. I have been opportune to attend almost every meeting that most people may not come out to talk about. I do because of my own background, okay. I was in a meeting in the year 2000 in Sheraton Hotel in Abuja, where Obasanjo removed his dress and showed all of us his back, where Abacha's son flogged him. And he said what? That while he was in prison with Shehu Yaradua, that he came, they asked, when we were handing over in 1979, if anybody had told us that one day people at our level can be beaten by a 13-year-old boy, we would have asked the person to be shot. But look at us, now in prison, at the mercy of some people. That when I left office in 1979, Nasembe Yadema was still a president. He named all the African leaders who were president with him in 1979. And he graciously left. And when he came back in 1999, they were all in power. So he made it clear that this seat is for life. So when people talk about third term, they don't know. I'm telling you, February 2000. Okay? So starting from that date, he deviated from a one-time arrangement that he had with Babangida. Mind you, he asked Babangida, how many presidents will he make out of me when he came out from prison? Okay? So they gave him just 4 years to rehabilitate him. Then Babangida will come back and take over. You know, he said he was stepping aside. The very minute he came in, he restructured the military, the one accusing Ojukwu of now. He restructured, he sent out all the politically exposed
military generals, okay?
Send them home. The coast was clear for him. Yeah. Then he moved into the assembly, reshuffled the assembly. That's why Southeast, that has always been the whipping boy, okay, produced 5 senior presidents in 8 years. 5 senior presidents in 8 years. Okay? Then he took advantage of a Supreme Court judgment in 5th of April 2002, that the resource control suit, that interpreted section 315 of the Constitution that says the president has a power to amend, annul a law. Okay? But that law should have been a law predating 1999 Constitution, not a law made within 1999 Constitution. He took up that power and set up his own parliament, led by people like Kojoma Dekwe in Villa against the National Assembly. So while he keep changing his senior president, he kept on writing laws in Villa and assenting to them by himself, all targeted to make himself a life president.
Well, yeah. The doctrine of necessity killed all that. So let's leave. The necessity is issue. It's a long issue. Okay, that's a long time.
So what I'm saying is that PDP started the issue of trying to erase other parties. He bumped up to
now, I asked a very simple question. And then you turned it into a long sermon of PDP.
I wanted to give you a history because our problem is not...
We don't have the luxury of that time now. Okay. So what I was asking is very simple. If the APC is behind this issue of May 10th deadline for parties to submit their register because they want to trap everybody who is in the APC now not to leave because they are now, especially those who contested. And if you are not a member of that party as at May 10th, you can't join the party. Was that an APC orchestrated move as been alleged by the opposition party?
It's another judicial intervention. The former, the sacked president of Court of Appeal, okay, Salami, who Jonathan removed, had issued an order and said that if he was still in service, that Obi would have been on the ballot.
The ballot.
If you have read it. Okay?
Yeah, I remember.
It was a judicial intervention. Again, let me tell you.
But the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Obi that
Hold on.
Okay.
Except Obennayan late, Muhammadu Buhari late, and Tinubu, every member of APC is a member of former member of PDP. That's why I say, can we get the history right? It is a PDP agenda to have the federation account to themselves, because this issue.
Tinubu has now acquired the PDP and is now showing them how to use it.
Yes, okay. They gave him that because they dealt with him as an opposition paper. He's a member of my party, AD, in 1998.
And
okay?
then is this revenge?
Yes, it's a revenge.
Okay.
It's a total revenge.
All right.
Today he's holding Osun money, the way Obasanjo held Lagos money.
This is interesting. All right, let's continue. Time is flying, and of course, we just had to bring up that issue of this court. I believe for those of you who are not aware, right now the court has extended the party registration, so everybody can still decamp from one party to the other party according to this ruling until a new court set aside this particular judgment.
An appeal court or Supreme Court, not a new court.
A new court, an appeal court. Set aside this judgment, which I believe INEC is still studying. Hurry now if you want to decamp. That's what the meaning is. So thank you very much for that one. I'll just take one or two calls before we jump into the main segment of the ABURI Accord after the news update. But definitely, let me hear if somebody has anything to add. Good morning and welcome.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Barry. Don, good morning.
Good morning.
My guest speaker, you have spoken well.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You can I'm relating from my memo. Yes, it's the court, our court has tried for the first time. You know, the court was bastardized, like you said. And in fact, the person that nailed the court completely and made the court nosedive is the present incumbent president, Tinubu.
Okay.
He's rubbishing everywhere with impunity and sagacity. But then I thank God, court has actually proved itself. They are trying to return. And that's why I told you, 2027 will never be 2023, Barry.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Gracious morning.
Good morning.
Gracious morning, nobody.
Hey, the senior citizen. It's good to have you today.
Even though I'm a senior citizen, not the senior citizen.
Okay, so how can your voice sounds like the senior citizen? You just played me now.
I'm already a senior citizen. You give me the money, I become senior citizen. Everybody and the Don who could see this, and I come from him. Let me appreciate our guest.
Yes.
Okay.
He's angry like me. He shouldn't be angry like to go on. He's an accurate failure. He was so angry with the learned state. I have 3 senior advocates that are my brothers, and some of them are not really happy with what has happened or what is happening in the judiciary. So I also want to explain it that there are still sound minds in the judiciary and practicing law.
All right. Hello? Hello? Thank you very much. Okay, we have just about 2 more minutes to take one more call, and after that, we will be going for a short break. Good morning. Uh-oh. Okay, if you're just joining us, we are live on Echo FM 100.7. Please tune in, call your friends, call your enemies if you have any, because today is a very important conversation for history purpose. Shortly, we'll be joining Comrade Fagba via the phone to join the conversation so we can have a go on this matter. But before that, here is a public announcement done. Let's do justice to this public announcement. I believe you can see them clear.
Yeah, please, you have to expand it a bit. Okay, the announcement is coming from Government of Imo State of Nigeria, Owerri West Local Government. Congratulatory message to the winners of the APC party primaries in Imo State, in Imo East Owerri Fed constituency and Owerri West State constituency. I extend my warmest congratulations to all aspirants who emerged standard bearers at the just concluded APC party primaries, particularly Prince Alex Mbata, Imo East Senatorial District. Honorable Satochukwu Okere, Owerri Federal Constituency, and retired Honorable Kanayo.
Right, Honorable.
Okay, and Right Honorable Kanayo Oyemachi, Owerri West State Constituency. Your success at the primaries is a testament to your hard work, dedication, and the confidence reposed in you by party members at the grassroots. I commend your commitment to service and your willingness to contribute to the growth and development of our dear state. I also sincerely appreciate and extol the leadership of His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Imo State, Senator Hope Uzodinma, CON, and the APC State Working Committee, led by Chief Austin Oyedebelu, for their steadfast commitment to ensuring a transparent, peaceful, and credible primary process of our people. To all aspirants who were not successful, I urge you to embrace unity, sportsmanship, and the greater good of our party. The primaries are now behind us. The task ahead is collective. Victory in the general elections will require cohesion, mutual respect, and a shared vision for progress. Let us close ranks, set aside differences, and work together to deliver resounding victories across the state, particularly in Owerri West, Owerri Fed Constituency, and Imo East. Our strength lies in our unity, and together we can achieve even greater milestones for our people. Once again, congratulations, and I wish you all success in the forthcoming general elections. Honorable Victor Osigwe, JP, Executive Chairman, Owerri West Local Government Area.
Right, that is the congratulatory message from the Executive Chairman of Owerri West, Honorable Victor Osigwe. Thank you very much for that. And with that, we'll be heading for a short break. When we come back, the conversations continue. On ABURI We Stand is the conversation today. So did Gowon get it right when he said Ojukwu was the reason why the war went ahead? Despite all efforts to stop the war, Ojukwu still stood his ground and said, no, we go our separate ways before we come back. And I asked, how possible is that? So this is the program where we want to talk about. Like I said earlier on, please, if you just have to listen. It's not every time we talk. Listen and then add your voice. Send in your messages if you want to say something, as we have seen some other messages which we'll read after the timeout. So stick with us. Don't touch that dial. We will be right back.
Echo FM.
If you kill her to me again, why you they give am pain? Are you familiar with your chain? You know say that would they shape, but I did they run and they sick it. I just they do on my way. Oluwa don't make me like. That's why you stand can't pay. Mind who you follow. If they don't invite you, make you no go. I saw more logo. I go advise, make you lay low. Even devil said they wear white.
Echo FM.
Even devil said they wear white.
Echo FM, 107 of fresh news people.
And you just look at everyone. Oluwa stand fair for my back, yeah. When them planning for my back, yeah. Now only God there for my back, oh. And you just look at everyone. Oluwa stand fair for my back, oh. Say I no go lack, oh. Anointing oil, yeah, I the shackle. Even them who said they wear white.
Sometimes they shine like light.
Even them who said they wear white.
At times they pull up like pride.
Even them who said they wear
Now
white.
you ginger why carry put me on top of.
Echo FM.
Echo FM, 107 of fresh news people.
This week to help those in need.
If you know that it's God Almighty that created you and created we Nigerians like you need to do good things for us because the masses are suffering. How you can suspend me here? Are we your slaves?
And I'm going to win this election.
That is the truth.
Stay informed with Echo FM 100.7. Join us for exclusive interviews with experts, breaking updates on local and global events, and in-depth coverage of issues impacting our community. Tune in every weekday at 6:30 a.m., 12 noon, 2 p.m., and 6 p.m. for our major news bulletin in English, Igbo,
people, this not story time on top Echo
and Pidgin language. For more inquiries, you can reach us through our email, echofm@thekingmail.com. You can follow us on our social media handles at EchoFM. Echo FM 100.7 Owerri. We are the Fresh News People.
From the newsroom of Echo FM comes the news update at 10. We are the special people, the Fresh News People. Here are the latest stories we are keeping tabs on. The federal government launched its net zero investment plan in Abuja, setting a 2060 target for carbon neutrality while pushing for growth anchored on clean investment. Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, stated that the plan outlines Nigeria's pathway to net zero greenhouse gas emission, positions climate action within the country's long-term economic framework. Ahead of the 2027 general election, political parties have received relief after a federal high court in Abuja invalidated the timelines that the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) issued for the conduct of primaries and nomination of candidates. Trial Judge Justice Mohammed Umar, in his judgment, set aside INEC's May 10 deadline requiring political parties to submit a register and database of all their members as a condition for qualifying to participate in the general election. The Chief of Army Staff, Waide Shuaibu, stated that the Nigerian Army has expanded its air capabilities as part of renewed effort to improve operational efficiency against insecurity threats nationwide. He reaffirmed the Nigerian Army's commitment to improving the welfare of personnel, noting that better living standards and prompt welfare benefits were essential to boosting morale and the operational performance. A man, Newton Isokbehi, who identified himself as a 7 police officer with 26 years of service, has threatened to shoot dead anyone who records him while on duty. In a video, he also directed explicit threats at any officer who had ordered members of the public to film police on duty. Public reactions was swift and condemnatory, with users describing the officer's conduct as dangerous, unprofessional, and emblematic of bad elements within the force. The Defense Headquarters has confirmed that the recent kidnapping incident in Oyo State was carried out by terrorists displaced from other parts of the country. following intensified military operations. The DHQ denied reports suggesting it referred to terrorists operating in the southwest as ordinary criminals, insisting that such interpretations were inaccurate and misleading, and stressed that the developments in the southwest were aimed at providing intelligence-based context. And in business, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, has confirmed an oil spill in the Bonny Channel area of Rivers State following a collision involving two vessels. NIMASA's Deputy Director and Head of Public Relations, Osagie Edward, confirmed that the injured victims were reportedly evacuated to the sick bay at the forward operating base in Bonny, where they received immediate medical attention. And in sports, Al Nassr captain Cristiano Ronaldo set a new record in football after winning the Saudi Pro League with his club. Recall that Al Nassr were confirmed champions following a 4-2 win against relegation battlers Damak. Ronaldo was on the score sheet as his brace helped George Jesus' side secure the title ahead of rivals Al Hilal. The 41-year-old will now prepare to lead his home country, Portugal, for the 2026 FIFA World Cup tournament starting next month. And on the foreign scene, the ambassador of Vietnam to Nigeria, Bill Hong, says bilateral trade between Nigeria and Vietnam has grown from about $250 million in 2015 to over $1 billion in 2025, describing the development as a major milestone in the economic relations between both countries. The envoy commended the role of trade associations in strengthening economic ties, noting that the Nigeria-Vietnam Economic Trade and Cultural Association have signed cooperation agreement with the Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry to boost trade relations. And that is all for the news update at 10. It's brought to you by the news desk of Echo FM. For more information and inquiries, visit our social media platforms. On Facebook is Echo FM, on X at Echo FM _over, on Instagram and YouTube, Echo FM 100.7. You can listen to us anywhere in the world by clicking on www.echofm.net. And that is the news update at 10. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned.
Echo FM.
Live from the Eastern Heartland, Echo FM 100.7 brings you engaging conversation on trending news.
We need the federal government to sort whatever issue they are having with ASU.
And by December this year, 4,000 MOUs will be employed in Europe.
It's explosive.
Well, first of all, we must understand that war in itself is a display of anarchy. When you talk about war, that is lawlessness at its peak. When you say you are fighting war to keep Nigeria one, no. You fought the war as a manifestation of your incompetence in the management of the crisis that was then part of Nigerian history.
Hilarious.
I get malaria, my cancer. Behind every successful man, there's a woman at the front. Look without it. Stop shaking your head. You stop shaking your head. You're one of those who are causing problems. On action, I don't want to
and daring.
Mr. President, God will ask all of us, but you will be in the front. I will say, I've told the Senate President.
Our nation remains one of the most insecure and least peaceful in the world today, making Nigeria one of the hungriest countries of the world. Nigerians now spend nearly their entire income on feeding.
We may be hungry, but we can manage our hunger.
My appeal is that you dedicate 20% of 2025, roughly 72 days, to visit each of the 36 states.
Catch the drama, feel the excitement on Straight Talk on Echo FM 100.7 Owerri with the Radio Marshal, Barry Cosmos. Every weekday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Join the conversation on Straight Talk with Barry Cosmos. Straight Talk. Get straight analysis. No bending corners.
Let's be poor. Breathe.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's time now for us to go straight into that conversation. But let's take a listen to the remaining part of it. I want to get to where decree number 8 came up. And decree number 8 is what really broke the camel. And Ojukwu said, Nehi, Nehi, Kaba. I don't want any of this. We go our own. He now called the Eastern region and then declared the Republic of Biafra after they refused to agree on that. And well, the Nehi went back to Gowon. Unan said, you either stay or we'll bring you back by hook or by crook. And then the Civil War broke out in 1970. 1967 to 1970. Wow, what a time. But then we have to try and then get connected to the elder statesman, Comrade Efayagba. I know he's listening. And of course, we want to hear his own take after we'll take a listen to the remaining part of that documentary, which is all on ABURI We Stand. Let's take a listen.
Echo FM.
While the federal permanent secretaries were evaluating the documents to which their leaders were signatories, Ojukwu and the East had grown tougher with their demands. On their own, the other military leaders on March 17, 1967, issued a significant policy, Decree number 8, which conferred far more powers on the regional governments ever than before. This was deliberately done in the hope that the new and greater degree of decentralization would placate the East so that it would not secede, and a potential consequent brutal war would be avoided. Let us take a look at the content of the decree. 1. Legislative and executive powers in matters affecting or relating to trade, commerce, industry, transport, the armed forces, the Nigerian police, higher education, and the territorial integrity of a region shall be with the unanimous approval of all the 4 regional military governors. 2. The legislative and executive powers of the region have been fully restored and vested in their respective military governors, but no region shall exercise its executive authority so as to impede or prejudice the exercise of the executive authority of the Federation or to endanger the continuance of federal government in Nigeria. 3. The Supreme Military Council can take over the executive and legislative functions of a regional government during any period of emergency which might be declared in respect of that region by the Supreme Military Council. The Supreme Military Council can also take appropriate measures against a region that attempts to secede from the rest of the Federation. 4. The appointment, tenure of office, and terms of service of High Court judges, the functions of the Public Service Commission, the establishment of a consolidated revenue fund, etc., and edicts made shall come into operation only with the concurrence of the Supreme Military Council. That is, all of these appointments by any regional military governor can only take effect with the approval of the Supreme Military Council. 5. Each military governor now controls the appointment of the judges of the High Court of his region, but the appointment of the judges of both the Supreme Court of Nigeria and the High Court of Lagos is made the sole responsibility of the Supreme Military Council. 6. All appointments to posts in the Superscale Group 6 and above in the public service of the Federation and appointments to posts of Deputy Commissioner of Police and above in the Nigerian Police Force are now to be made by the Supreme Military Council. Lastly, Appointments to the offices of Ambassador, High Commissioner, and other principal representatives of the Republic in countries other than Nigeria are now under the decree to be made by the Supreme Military Council. This decree number 8 ignored the reports of the permanent secretaries but did not fully concur with Ojukwu's demands. It also decentralized the government to such an extent that the regions were virtually autonomous units, in each of which each regional governor had executive powers. However, Ojukwu would reject the decree because a part of the decree stated that no region shall exercise its executive authority so as to impede or prejudice the exercise of the executive authority of the Federation or to endanger the continuance of federal government in Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much. I think we're now joined by Comrade Efa Agba, who is on the phone with us right now. Good morning, Comrade. Can you hear me?
Clearly.
Can you hear me now?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm hearing you.
All right, welcome aboard. You're live on Echo FM, sir. Of course, welcome.
Thank you very much.
We have been discussing an ABURI we stand. You listen to the documentary there. Now, before we proceed, I want to ask you one simple question. Was Gowon right in what he said that Ojukwu refused every entity, everything that was done to make sure the war never happened, especially with the new decree number 8, where they said any region that decides to succeed, the Supreme Military Council will stop the people. So with that now, do you agree that with Gowon when he said Ojukwu is the reason why this war went ahead? Because he refused every overtures to him to accept becoming one Nigeria as Nigeria used to be, from ABURI to decree number 8. What's your take on that?
Well, it is easy to discuss these things when people are not directly involved.
Okay.
But one thing I will say first and foremost, if we want to be reasonable, we know that whenever two people are quarreling, each one of them feels is right.
Yeah.
And if you ask the other one, he says this one that he doesn't want to see reason because he hasn't accepted his own. You ask the other one, he says this was that. If Ojukwu were to write, he would say Gowon was reluctant, stubborn, he didn't want to hear. But if you want to join the case without seeing the circumstance, at the material time that thing happened, the spirit they call in the army has gone.
Yeah.
And Ojukwu felt unsafe under the federal government. So self-preservation will be first and foremost. And then those who are blaming Gowon will realize that Gowon was chief of army staff on the Ironsi when the counter-coup took place. And the most senior person, to me, that is the man who caused the war, was the Yoruba brigadier. I think it's Ademologun or whatever.
Ademoyoga. Ogundibe. Okay.
Yeah, Ogundibe.
Yeah.
So who was the next Ironsi, but instead of being man enough to take command, ran to the sea, and Gowon appointed him Nigerian ambassador to London. By that very act, Gowon has become the most senior. And so every other army man was supposed to obey him, including that he was for army staff. So when we're looking at the second, but then no reasonable person will expect Ojukwu, who in May ordered the Igbos back to the north when they were here. Because the massive killing of the Igbos, the pogrom, showed that the hatred has gone beyond reason. And that was why, even at a stage, Ojukwu was being pushed by citizens to secede. Because I remember Ojukwu at one time saying, "Are you asking me to secede? Are you ready for it?" And so people should not judge it outside the circumstance. So I'm not going to blame Ojukwu or Gowon. For instance, people talk about ABURI. I'm happy that the man who was in the narration, even though he shows some bias there, admitted that he was the last Oba of Benin, who was a permanent secretary in Enugu, which he didn't include, and who left Enugu because when Ojukwu ordered people to leave there, who are not citizens to go, because under the Benin tradition, the first son of the Oba of Benin does not stay with him while he's alive. It's only when the Oba dies that the man comes back with fanfare to take over. And so that Oba Akinzua was trained in Enugu, lived in Enugu, and became a permanent secretary. Spoke better Igbo than many Igbos.
Yeah.
But when the paper came to him, he didn't analyze that he was trying to hurt the Igbos. He looked at the paper, gave his honest opinion on it, including Igbo permanent secretary, gave their honest opinion. And the issue was, there was a little danger. What they agreed in Abuja is to move slightly apart. These people are probably civil servants. When they were looking at the document, they say, this move slightly apart is not very clear. How slightly will the slight movement be? Is it not secession? And when you decide that there will be no head of state, because that's what that in amounted to, have you not lost something?
Yeah.
And for any reasonable person to say, go on to say, I stand on ABURI, that person is crazy. The only thing, if there was any other person that intervened, they might have settled the thing. They might even say, Ojukwu, Aya, go on, go. Let this man be. But unfortunately, military coup was a new thing to us. So even the people who could have come, because the traditional rulers could have come and settled it. If the Sultan of Sokoto stepped in,
okay, comrade, just a quick follow-up question. Do you think Ojukwu was sincere when he went to ABURI with all the demands to pull apart and then come back with a referendum on his mindset? Do you think he was really on that one Nigeria mantra Gowon was trying to pursue?
He was sincere.
Okay.
I will tell you why I believe he was sincere.
Okay.
But what happened that the circumstances.
Hello?
If you move, hello.
Go ahead.
If you move slightly apart, that may be to your taste, O Israel.
Okay.
Give you an example where the United States of America, when they fought their war against Britain, they were apart, the former 13 states. But when they finished the war, sometimes they say, we are apart, we should come closer. Then they had a new constitution that created the United States. So that could be possible too in Nigeria. But then people who are apart can, from that being apart, drift. Do I give you an example that might be funny? If a woman and the husband go to court for divorce, normally the court doesn't divorce immediately. They can say stay apart. If while they are staying apart, one woman goes to the man and defends the man, a man goes to the woman and defends the woman, do you think they will ever come back together again?
No way.
So moving slightly apart depends on what happens later. And with the suspicion that has been created, those on the federal side will say, you allow this man to go outside, he will arm Israel, because at the material time, Eastern Nigeria was not armed.
But was that not a ploy to buy some time so that he can consolidate on his military strategies, since he was refusing any federal government as at that time? He insisted that there's no federal government because of the CNC, as at that time Aguiyi was killed, and there was no federal government. Why was he insisting not recognizing Gowon as the CNC as at that time?
Well, he claimed he was Gowon Senior, and that he was supporting Ogundipe to take over. He insisted say Ogundipe should come and take over. He didn't say if Ogundipe took over, he will pull out.
But Gowon was a senior as well. And according to what we heard, hold on, sir, hold on, just a minute. According to what we heard, is that they were looking for a more central position that is not like core north or east or even the west to give the leadership. That's why they went for somebody from Plateau State, which was more or less a minority in that, to at least pacify the people who were feeling aggrieved, that is the Southeast people who were feeling aggrieved at the Northern pogrom and that, which led to Juku and all those Biafra agitations and all that. That's why they chose Gowon from Plateau State and not anybody from the core north, from the west, or from the southeast to pacify everybody and be neutral. That's why the choice of Gowon, because it took about 3 days after the death of there was no C&C until the Supreme Council came up with that brilliant idea, according to them, as at that time. And Ojukwu said no to it. Is it not one of the reasons why this war happened?
I wasn't in the army, but from my distant point, the person is not telling the correct thing.
Okay.
Gowon was chief of army staff on the Ironsi.
Yeah.
Ironsi was a Nigerian. Ironsi was the man who fought the January coup and destabilized them. He saw himself as a Nigerian.
Okay.
And he was thinking of Nigerian, this is just like Patrick Kaduna and Zogu, who was an idealist. Gowon was in a position, because if you read Action, when Danjuma wanted to arrest Ironsi in Ibadan, he cleared with Gowon. But Gowon neither said arrest him or not arrest him, according to this. Gowon said, can you do that? And after that, he didn't talk again. But Danjuma answered, they can. Then he handed him over to the... But let me tell you now that you are thinking of Ojukwu the captain being a Nigerian. Ojukwu, after the war, went to Ivory Coast. They received him as a former head of state. You know, Ivory Coast recognized Biafra.
Yeah.
And when he went there, he started transport business. Was doing very well.
Typical Igbo
when
man.
When 1979 election was done, and Shagari was the president,
amnesty was given.
Ekweme, a Biafra, was the vice. Whereas a Biafra was president of the Senate. A Biafra was Speaker of the House. This is with us, and Professor, this man who was in it, I remember his name before I finish talking, who was Mahanese president. They brokered that Ojukwu came and surrendered to Shagari, and he was pardoned, and he came back to lead Biafra back to Nigeria. If he didn't like Nigeria, how long was it? Only 9 years after. How can he come back to lead Biafra back to Nigeria? And immediately he came back, he joined the MPN, contested the election. They said he failed. I don't know whether he failed or not, but that was the announcement. They said Wonomudiwe won the election. He now helped in forming a party looking for the president of Nigeria. Was he still looking for Biafra?
Okay.
So if he wasn't sincere, would he come back? Wouldn't he form government in exile? There were many Igbo boys overseas.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let's talk. Just stay with us on the phone. Let's talk with Honorable in the studio here. Honorable, you had the other statesman.
It's all right.
Just hang on. Stay on the line. Don't cut the call. The whole of this madness started with ABURI. The demand by Ojukwu from ABURI, and then the, what is it called? The issue of Decree number 8 and the disagreement. So why wasn't Ojukwu in any way accepting any further discussion apart from the ABURI agreement, in your own view?
Now, again, you have started wrongly again.
No, I said in your own view.
No, first of all, please. Our problem started in 1962. Okay? The Southwest problem that led to state of emergency that was declared by the federal government under Tafawa Balewa.
Okay.
That eventually led to election manipulation in 1964.
Okay.
That sent Awolowo to prison in Calabar. These were events that were throwing up. ABURI was only a solution.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. ABURI was supposed to be the solution.
Yes, ABURI was...
But they came back with more confusion.
No, there was no confusion, like I've said. That today, we have an INEC that is manned by a civil servant, was a professor, an academic, a senior advocate, who is now trying to fix things for himself. The same way all former INEC chairmen had always worked with the ruling party, and they have been rewarded even starting from Humphrey Nwosu, I visited a house that Babangida gave him in Asokoro, a twin duplex. Okay, people, let us be honest, because why I'm in this studio is, first of all, can we be honest for once? I like the way Commander Efaba spoke. He was in the Biafran army, okay, and he has not defended Ojukwu or Gowon.
Gowon, he just made military.
That's why I say that Olufalaye had a premonition that a paper was going to come on a Tuesday, and on Saturday he alerted the world that our problem started with Southwest. Okay, few weeks ago, Makinde, in his rascality.
Where are you going with this?
Hold on, made a comment again and said that if Tinubu doesn't take time, that Operation Wete will come back. That he started in Ibadan. Okay? Is it the same thing? Now, the coup, again, should be analyzed if Mzogu did not strike on January 15th, okay, 1966. By May, June, there was going to be a coup by Lieutenant Colonels, led by Chukwemeka Odumegwu and Banjo.
But he said it wasn't planning.
Hold on. Whether it was going to be, one, the drift, okay, the military felt that how many months ago did the British hand over to us? And there's a problem, okay? And there's nobody else. The military remains a watchdog. You can't throw them aside. And you are talking about a crop of young men who had the best of brains, okay? If Arjuna, they were all there. These are young graduates. They had won Commonwealth games and some other things. They were exposed, fully exposed, more than the civil servants, more than the permanent super palm sex. That's what I'm coming to now. It is the super palm sex.
If these guys were educated,
yes,
you are saying the super palm sex were not educated.
They were educated but limited. Okay?
How limited? Most of them studied abroad.
Listen to me. That's what they're studying. Majority in Ibadan. Majority of them came from Ibadan. University of Ibadan. Okay?
You know, UI was even better than abroad universities.
No. You can't compare that. Ojuku came from Oxford. You can't match the two. Okay? Ojuku was a leading figure.
But I'm talking about historical. They rated UI more than schools in England.
Hold on. Who established? The British government established it. Don't go there. Okay? What we're saying is that the civil servants, like I've said, ndị Igbo na-asị na onye obodo ọga ije ga okomadi shiawo hama in the military from Sandhurst, where the officer cadet came from London. Okay, how many? Philip Asiodu and Alison Aida. Which other courses they are attending abroad? Okay, after leaving Ibadan, which other courses?
No,
except
Barry, I want to say something. I want to ask a question.
Okay, go ahead.
I think most of the questions people are tabling now is basically on Biafra.
Yes.
What do you mean
Some
by Biafra?
people will want to know, yes, it's about the ABURI Code, isn't it? And of course, Biafra emanated from it. It may seem to look like that particular war that started has resulted to what we are suffering now in our present dispensation, to some extent. Now, would we say that the prophecy Wole Soyinka made when we got our independence, it's not yet Ihuhuru? It had a lot of ambiguous meaning in it. And then down the line, almost how many years this civil war emanated? And of course, would we say that we were not ready? Were we hasty to actually mount that leadership? And what if Ojuku's plan succeeded? Can you categorically tell us if we will still be going through this hardship, or something different might come out of it, or it was meant to happen?
Well, Ojukwu has been a child of circumstance. I've told this story about Ojukwu from the age of 11, a rebel. He slapped a white woman in King's College, Lagos. Okay? That the teacher flogged or made a sarcastical comment about the black people. A young boy rose up, gave the woman a dirty slap. The teacher. Okay? And they arrested him and took them to court the next day.
The man was sleeping in the dock.
While the judge was busy looking at hearing the matter, he was sleeping with his colleagues at the dock. And the lawyer was
where is the guy?
The lawyer was smart enough to tell the judge, please, can you come and see those reading charges? And when the judge came and saw them, that they were sleeping, so he discharged them. The next day, Zeke took him straight to Elton University in Elton College in London, okay, where the Queen, Charles, them were studying. Okay? So, in his life, he was prepared for something. Now, as a student in Oxford, he used to visit Sandhawks, where military officers were being trained. And he got the inkling.
He
has not said categorically.
Yes. Yes.
Let's make it short.
Now, what we are saying is that if from where Ojukwu came from, his background in history and some other things, if the only solution to Nigeria was to allow Biafra go, he told Gowon, let us stay a little apart. Let the regions, because historically the regions were not one. When the white man came, the indirect rule worked in northern Nigeria and southern Nigeria. It never worked in the southeast.
Yes.
Okay, in eastern Nigeria. Okay, and when the problem came, the problem came from western Nigeria. Again, that is a people that had a history of war. Okay, and even the north, the Kanemboni Empire and all this, and then Oyo Empire and all this.
I know you will not want to say yes or no.
Yeah.
But was Ojukwu's leadership, was it right or wrong during that war that started, when he had opportunity to actually pause, but yet he still kept pressing? At that point in time, did you think he would have pressed or he should have paused?
Ojukwu never worked on his own person. The Eastern Council, the Eastern Legislative Council, okay, was never dissolved. That's the only one that was never dissolved. Okay? After the counter coup, the Southeast, the Eastern Nigeria Council remained, the government in power remained, all the politicians, all the civilians remained. That's why when they went to ABURI, he came, God said he came prepared. Because he had all his permanent, that is political appointees. People like when people say Ahera Declaration, which is the declaration of the war, it was written by Chinachebe and his colleagues.
Yeah.
Only Oju was asked as a leading officer. And of course, it was on gunpoint.
Yeah.
Okay? He was hesitant. When people talk about him and the war, he was hesitant. They told him, if you don't lead this war, we'll kill you. If you don't lead this war, we will kill you.
All right. So Ojukwu was also acting on the prompt by
his people. There's
people.
A pogrom. Over 3,000 people have been brought home dead.
All right. Okay. So at the end of the day, what all this conversation we're having, those of you listening out there, it's not to say who caused the war, who caused the war. It's because of what Gowon has said. Yeah. And we're trying to know if he is right or wrong. You understand? So in this case, now we're hearing from Honorable Ihuoma here, and of course, Comrade Efagba. Let's go back to the elder statesman now and then get some words of wisdom too. Comrade, are you there? Hello, comrade.
Hello.
All right, probably he's taking a little bit a break from where his phone is, but he's still online. When he comes, he joins us. Okay, comrade, if you can hear me, please join us back. We want to hear your own side of what this whole thing. That's a very beautiful question he asked, if he could have paused or continued with the agitation. Anyway, let's get to hear from our listener out there. They may have one or two to add to the conversation. 0911 20,022 or
0707 454 1014.
All right, good morning. Who did you?
Hello.
Good morning, Barry Cosmos.
Steve-O.
Good morning, Honorable.
Steve, run away, soldier.
Don, I'm also happy with you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Very quickly, honestly, sometimes I feel and I wish that this discussion about Nigerian Biafran war will not even be discussed at all.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of misconceptions everywhere. One thing I want to state is this. Everybody is saying it in a way that it will favor him. I wish Gowon has released this book while Ojukwu was alive.
Yeah.
At least Ojukwu would have responded. But what I'm saying is that when I have read books on the account of the war, even the one written by Adeboyega, who is a Yoruba man, Why We Struck. It was in Adeboyega's book that I got to see the reasons why the coup was carried out, that it was not an Igbo coup. But up to today, we were meant to believe that it was an Igbo coup. And the man who carried out the coup, Chukwuma Nzogwu, is from Delta State. Today, Delta is not counted as part of Igbo. They separated them from Igbo. But they're still punishing Igbos as the people who caused the coup. And we have seen from history also that the whole trouble started from the southwest. But today, Southwest, it seems like it's a war between the North and the Southeast. And the Southwest has nothing to contribute.
And
what I'm saying, if you look at Igbo man and disposition of Igbo man, if you look at the disposition of Igbo man, from what I read, the account of the war, and up to today, you can see that Igbo man is the only true Nigeria. Before the war, Igbo man lived everywhere. Today, Igbo man is still living everywhere in Nigeria, doing business, settle down with their families. If they don't love Nigeria, why do they travel that way? And among the three major regions that existed, the so-called North, Southwest, the East, or the West and the East, the North can integrate with the Southeast. In fact, the North live everywhere in Nigeria. The East live everywhere in Nigeria. But you hardly see the West living even in the Southeast. How many Westerners are living in the Southeast? They are okay with their area. So I don't like this continuous Igbo man wanted to separate. It was conditioned. When I read about the count of the war, how can you kill about 3,000 people, bringing their cost from the north down to the east, and you think their people will not react? And you want the program to continue. No, now, it is not good. So Ojukwu was not the cause of the war. Igbos were not the cause of the war. They only defended themselves because of circumstances. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.
All right, thank you very much, Steve.
Stephen.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Barry and Dave.
That sounds like Dr. Mrs. Samuel Lebra.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
With due respect and without bias.
Okay.
Go on. A living and unreckonable once upon a time leader of Nigeria at a critical and defining moment in the history of Nigeria. Historically has a tiny place of honor. In all that transpired throughout the event, Go on displayed little understanding, ignorance, unwillingness, and impunity towards a lasting peaceful goal to patricidal feuds, thereby confirming his maiden speech on assumption of office that the basis for Nigeria's unity does not exist, and where it exists, it is badly robbed. In ABURI Accord, go on, raged on a confederal system of government that was agreed upon. Power sharing and decentralization of the military, the police, civil service, the economy were agreed upon. Go on, reneged. He ordered and executed the worst genocide akin to that of Hitler, using foreign mercenaries, fighters, and bombers to destroy millions of helpless Nigerians, civilians, and children. This go on, who today claims to be a pastor and chaplain of Nigerian praise, performed the worst Holocaust, bombing children and civilian habitation. As a man old enough who stole his ringing, he should be on bended knees, ask Igbos for forgiveness before asking God to forgive him. Very cowardly and lily-livered, go on, couldn't utter these lies when Ojukwu lived. Go on, is unfortunately and miserably supervising his own decline and miserable exit. Finally, one partisan question: who talks about go on and any positive impact? Where does he live today? When last did he visit his village? How many people in his lineage are still alive? Is it not this same treacherous go on that sold Bakassi? The tree of liberty will be watered by the blood of tyrants. Pray, go on. Pray for the ocean of blood you poured away. Pray, Igbos, heavens forgive your miserable miscarriage of leadership. Thank you and have a nice weekend.
Thank you, ma.
Wow. Dr. Mrs. Sima, you want to get done here to go start crying, but definitely we don't want her crying here. If we cry here, I'll give you able for John now. Okay.
Oh my God.
Okay, well, this is one of those very, very ugly incidents. When somebody captured it this way, like Dr. Mrs. Sima has captured it, it becomes very emotional. But we're not trying to drive people crazy or remind people the injuries and wounds they are trying to forget. A lot of people lost their loved ones in that war. Now, this brings us to that same issue. Should Ojukwu or Gowon have taken a different path? Because an ABURI we stand has become like a legacy statement. You can't go back because you've had an agreement in ABURI. Once you do that, it goes again to go against what you've already agreed. This is one of those angles that when I look at it, is that, okay, fine, we had an agreement. Somebody come and look at it and say, no, I don't agree. Should you go back to the negotiation table? If the person is calling you to come, let's address one or two issues. Why wasn't that done? These are issues that people need to also realize that when the powers that be stop talking, egos. Remember, these young people, 32 years and 33 years, they were still in Nigerian and African context, still very young people. And when they talk about youthful exuberance, that is the most heady time in everybody's life where, they agree. Nothing. Any 27, 28, 30 to 35 years, they agree. That's how they head, and they led us into this madness that we had to see, losing millions and millions of people, while majority of them from this Biafran side, because the epicenter of the war was this side of the divide, not in the northern part. So they didn't lose what the Igbos lose, even though there was also lives lost on the other side. But definitely, that war should never have happened. But it did happen. What are the lessons to learn from this? That's just the last straw of this conversation. What are the lessons? Comrade, are you still there? Hello, Comrade Efagwa. Are you with me? Lost
I'm with
on
you.
the other side. Okay. Welcome back, sir.
I've been all along listening, but you are not hearing me.
All right, now I can hear you now. So what are the lessons that we need to learn in case something like this ever come up again? How do we draw lessons from this ABURI Accord, Decree number 8, Owinogo Agree, Pogrom, Court? Because from all indication, this all started from the West. And they always blame the Yoruba people for starting this really malfunctioning of a very young country. We just got independent in 1960. Between 1960 and 7 years, war don't start. So 5 years, right? So how on earth, what are the lessons to learn from this, comrade?
One of the lessons is that the civilian population should have not left it to the military alone.
Okay.
There were politicians on both sides who were far more experienced than the military people. And if they have intervened, the matter might have been settled in Nigeria. And there was an earlier meeting where they met. I think Mbanefo represented Eastern Nigeria.
That's in the Benin.
The military that met. So that is the lesson. I think in my own mind, the only mistake Gowon and his group as military people made was not recalling the senior Nigerian officers who came from Biafra land and Midwest then, and giving them one or two promotions and retiring them, because it's impossible for them to have come back to boss them. But instead of considering it this way and saying, they dismiss them, although later, they say no dismissal again. But if they have recalled them, immediately the war failed, and say, you are my seniors, but you can't come back and boss us again. The people we command will kill us. But we cannot fail to recognize you as brother officers. Take 3 promotions and you are hereby retired. I think all these things, deterring, we have not gone there. Because for the civilian population and the Biafran officers who were not original Nigerian officers and some of Nigerian officers were properly integrated. The BC Kanu fought on the Biafran side. He retired as Rear Admiral in the later. So, as far as he was concerned, it was a brotherly law. I was in the civil service. We came back. We were paid our salary. Those of us who had accounts in the bank, since Biafran currency had become no currency again, we were given ex gratia 20 pounds. And when they gave us, I was an army officer in Biafra. Chikudema was an army officer. Many of us were. Gowon promised, and that is my greatest respect for Gowon, that there will be no Nuremberg trial So one didn't try any Biafran officer for fighting Nigeria. He had that right to have done because we have surrendered. Even Hitler war, people were still tried. That is the Nuremberg trial. So but I think the only bit area, but the human beings, people can make mistakes. So I don't blame them because that is my own thinking.
Okay.
I don't see how my former seniors will come back when I have been thrust up, and the people who thrust me up are still carrying on. Because if you read Effiong ran from the north, came back to Lagos, and told the one that he was coming to see him. The one said, "Don't come, I can't guarantee your safety." So you can see the type of situation they were living through. But if the civilian elders have not felt it didn't concern them, like what is happening in this country today, many people are not talking.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Things happening, how many people are talking?
Thank you.
The elders to see that things are solved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. For lack of time, let me just take some few messages and we call it a wrap. This one says, good morning, Barry. The truth is that we are not one people, just like the case of India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. We are different people forced together by the UK. ABURI Accord was agreed, and agreement is agreement. Ojukwu was right. We need a regional government even till today. Otherwise, the killings going on in the country will continue. Thanks. Victor sent in that message. All right, Engineer Buka. Oh, God.
From Futo.
Engineer Buka from Futo says, General Yakubu Gowon trying to repent. They repent the ABURI narrative against late Chukwuemeka Ojukwu is like a chemist attempting to alter the original laboratory result after the experiment has already been concluded and documented. At ABURI, both reactants entered the reaction chamber with their advisors, legal catalysts, and diplomatic solvents. An equilibrium was reached under the supervision of General Akufo of Ghana. The ABURI Accord was a balanced chemical equation meant to stabilize the volatile Nigerian compound after the violent exothermic reaction of 1966. But immediately the system returned to Nigeria, Gowon changed the reaction conditions, temperature, pressure, and constitutional concentration were altered unilaterally. Once the agreed parameters were abandoned, the equilibrium shifted according to Le Chantalier's principle, producing a catastrophic chain reaction called Civil War. Ojukwu's on ABURI We Stand was simply insisting that the regional chemical formula be maintained to prevent national decomposition. You cannot discard the stabilizing reagent, trigger uncontrollable oxidation, and later accuse the other compound of causing the explosion. The refusal to implement ABURI was like removing the corrosion inhibitor from an already stressed metallic structure. Ethnic marginalization, killings of Ndibo, and political toxicity, and already increased the entropy of federation. Ojukwu merely observed that the Nigerian solution had become too acidic for coexistence without structural adjustment. So for Gowon to now claim Ojukwu frustrated peace effort resembles a laboratory supervisor who ignored the agreed procedure, caused the reactor vessel to rupture, and decades later tries to blame the safety engineer who warned about the instability from the beginning. This is coming from Engineer Ebuka, texting from Futo. Whoops. That one was enter. That one enter, Sha. All right. Don, let's take this one quickly.
Okay, good morning, Echo FM. I appreciate your guest, Honorable Ihoma, but would like him to go straight to the point to question posed without trying to bend it. I will say that what the APC where he belongs to is doing, or what the APC where he belongs to is doing, is not learned anywhere, but they are just exposing what is inside of them. Do not make excuses or try to abate or excuse them. Too bad. In fact, APC is badder. If there's anything like that than PDP, the right things should be done to correct the past, rather than continuing it with impunity while justifying it with excuses. Thank you. Prince from Akabo.
All right, Prince is reacting to when you were trying to cajole PDP into what APC is doing right now with your words. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Don. Good morning,
Barry Cosmas, my very good friend.
Chief Jude.
Well, I think the one was being most economical with the truth.
Okay.
And then by actually coming up with this book at this very particular point in time, regardless of the fact that they said that nothing good, nothing bad, but good is always said about the dead. If you had come up with this book when Ojukwu was alive, it would have been a different ballgame. And I was privileged enough to have read Ojukwu's book, because I'm involved. And most of the things the one said in this book, I mean, ran contrary to what Ojukwu stated in his book, because I'm involved. It's unfortunate that he's coming up with this type of statement. I was thinking that the one, as a Christian, must actually reflect the truth and nothing but the truth, because he has been championing Christian causes. And for him to have come up with this type of statement now goes to show that, I mean, his Christianity, I mean, raises very big question mark. So he should actually tell us the truth, because, I mean, he is very closer to his grave. I'm not wishing him death. And I think by now he should be preparing himself for life after death. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Chief
Thank
Jude.
you.
All right, this one says, good morning, Barry Cosmas, the Radio Marshal, Mrs. Danica Oman, our eloquent guest. Your intro message this morning was highly informative and deserve applaud. Barry, General Gowon should stop shying away from a blunder he committed with the war. He should accept his mistake, apologize, and ask God's forgiveness, especially now that he is getting aged. He went to war because he was naive, inexperienced, and poorly educated during the period. The Confederation system he rejected is what some people, especially our South brothers, including Edo State, where the Oba came from, is requesting today in the disguise of resource control and restructuring. So how was Ojukwu at fault? Unfortunately, that which was agreed at ABURI still remains the roadmap to a prosperous and greater Nigeria. Henry Naji from the Afoama Market, Old Road Naked. All right, let's take this one. We still have 2 minutes. Done. Sharp, sharp, sharp.
Okay, good morning, Barry and Ekoma. Blessing from Orogwe. Personally, I think if Ojukwu didn't want peace or only wanted to frustrate peace efforts, then there wouldn't be any ABURI. The main issue was distrust for each other, which clearly was valid and for me was escalated by that document. Ojukwu frustrated peace efforts is probably too simplistic. Gowon has the right to record his own version of history in his memories, especially since he was one of the central actors. Leaders often try to shape historical memories before they die. Personally, I think what matters is how such claims are made. If the goal is understanding history honestly, including one's own mistakes, then it can help national reflection. But if it sounds like trying to place nearly all blame on a dead man, for me, is a red flag. The Nigerian Civil War was not caused by one man alone. The coup of 1966, ethnic massacres, military mistrust, regional fears, political ambition, foreign influence, and failed negotiations frustrated the ABURI Accord.
All right, we can't take this message in one go. Everybody needs to know that it's a very serious matter. So thank you. This is where we're going to draw the curtain for today. But the lessons learned are very, very hard lessons, and we need to remember that we don't want to go through this phase again. For those of you who always talk, we're not going to agree, we're going to fight, remember, this is exactly what led to the Civil War. We should come together and discuss like a family. Well, mistrust, distrust, whatever trust you can put in there has been the bane of Nigeria, where the Igbo man and the Hausa man, the Fulani man, the Yoruba man always think of themselves first before they think about the nation. So we don't have nationhood, and that's our problem. The only time Nigerians ever agree is when football is being played. And that's the only time you see a Hausa man embrace an Igbo man without thinking. That's when the Yoruba man will embrace a Fulani man without thinking. As at that time, Nigeria is the only factor. But even at that, we now see sometimes when they're playing, they'll say that Biafra they play because they have more Igbos on the pitch. Now, fueling anger from the other side. These are all the kind of rhetorics that we don't need in this country. As we head into the elections, this should serve as a reminder that for us to get together, every aspect of this entity called Nigeria must come together to take a national decision that affects everybody, and that is leadership. And leadership has been the problem. Since from ABURI till today, from the war, what was the problem? Leadership. Until today, leadership is still the only problem Nigeria have going to this extent. So thank you very much for being part of the program. Thank you very much, Honorable Hioma, for joining us. I know you have a whole lot more to say, but time don't go. Time is gone.
Well, let me say that listening to Dr. Mrs. Leber, you brought tears. I lost my twin to that civil war.
Chai. Sorry about that. I don't remember it. It's gone and gone. Comrade Efayagba, thank you very much for being part of the program. All right, let's do this again next time if we have the opportunity. And of course, I believe after we don't give a headache, heart attack, all you name it, and it's Friday, we'll leave the women when they can discuss their thing. Today is She Matters. Okay. I hear say every small thing where you talk now, they go say Chike is around. I hope nobody know what talk. When I leave Chike alone. Small thing, they go say Chike is around. Everything. Wait to me. You look me like, who is a Chike in this office? Nobody with Chike. When I leave guys alone.
The issue of infidelity.
Infidelity. All right, let's hear what the ladies are going to talk about today.
Appalling.
It's appalling.
It's appalling.
Okay.
It's unethical. It's unchristian-like.
All right. Let's call it a day here. Let the women do their thing and She Matters. Barry Cosmos and sign out. Let's do this again next week for Straight Talk. Bye-bye. See ya.